Hello, everyone. This is Shanidra with Beyond the Cover, and I have on today my father, Diangel Matthews, and I'm going to allow him to introduce himself.
Hey, I'm Diangel Matthews, founder of Vehicle Deal Planner and father of your host.
Yes, sir. So let's dig right into it. So, how did you? Is Vehicle Deal Planner your first business venture? And how did you start on your journey towards starting your business?
Well, Vehicle Deal Planner came out of doing vehicles. I was selling cars for a few years, and I saw an opportunity in that most people were not educated on the process going in, and that creates vulnerability. It's a long-term investment. It's expensive, and if you get it wrong, you're stuck with it for years. And so having somebody kind of do the process with you beforehand and set it up based around what you're trying to do rather than you being cornered at a particular dealership. As you know, right? You get cornered in a place and you're leaving with some vehicle that you hadn't even considered before. And so if somebody does all of that up front before you even go, you know that you're going to the right place, you know that you're going to get the right thing that you want, not something you kind of got pushed into. So that's where the idea of it came from, which was to do basically what I do at the dealership, but beforehand for people. And that way, it was not just to help them and keep them at the car dealership I work at, but to send them to the right dealership in the first place. Of course, Vehicle Deal Planner is probably my 101 business venture. And I think that's an important idea because not everything works. Not everything is a great idea. A lot of people get an idea and they go, "Hey, this would be great," and then they hope and expect that to work like gangbusters, and then they're just like, "Well, I tried to go in business before and that didn't work, so that's that." No, anybody that's successful in business will tell you about the 10 businesses that they tried before that, or how the business they have now is supplemented by two or three other things that they're working on currently, or they got an idea for the next business that they're going to create. So, and that's been the way I've been since, 17 years old.
Oh, wow. So 17 years old. So what did you do starting out at 17? What was the business venture that you started?
17, I was still, pretty popular rapper there locally. But had a kid around that time, and so I was like, I don't want to tour now. I don't want to be away. I'm gonna have a family and this type of stuff, and so I think I really want to shift to the business side of it and just kind of work with other artists here locally, so that way I'm not expected to, really leave town myself. And so I just started taking mainly other people to the studio and helping them make demos and trying to help them shop their music.
Okay. So what who was this child that you had at 17?
Yeah, but it happened to be you there in 11th grade. So yeah, and that was the label was First Step Records, and of course your name slash middle name at the time was Cooletta, so that was Cooletta Productions. So that was probably your first company, a year before you were born.
Okay. So what where did Cooletta come from?
Uh, that was my rap name at the time, so it'd been Cool J otherwise, like Cool Junior, but needed a derivative, so ended up with a went up with a Etta. Could have been a Coolada. Could have been a Coolita.
So yeah, you just want to up my name, but that's fine. Um, so after you started the venture, after you had your wonderful child,
Mhm.
well, you didn't have me, but after this blessing came,
Yeah.
you to shift. It made you shift from like being on stage touring to shifting to the backhand side of the business world of artists.
Hmm.
Okay, so that was the start of your businesses.
Yeah, that was mainly the start of, you know, going from thinking about being like famous or being out on tour to more of, should I be developing these other skills? And as that came along, you begin to realize that's where the money was anyway. The artists were coming and going, fame rises and falls, but these people that were in the background or these artists that took control were ultimately able to control their own destiny. There's a lot of famous rappers that were heavily on the radio. Your generation never even heard of them, because they did not. You take somebody like Sean Combs, Puff Daddy, who was not the best rapper, but since he worked at the label and became a CEO and whatever else, he was able to show up on records and whatever else. And, now he's very wealthy from just lingering around and being part of the artists as they came.
So that was the start of one of your many businesses.
Mm-hmm.
Um, because we're going to get on to vehicle deal planner at the end because we got to make sure people remember the
Okay.
latest. Okay, so after that, where did you go from starting your record label to
What's
where did
next?
yes?
Yeah. Again, you kind of work your way into it. So now I'm thinking about production of the music and stuff like that. But now I also need money. So now you start thinking about how can I get money for stuff, right? And so slowly but surely that leads me in to finance and becoming a stockbroker and things like that. Because of course, they once one time they asked the bank robber, "Why'd you rob the bank?" And he said, "That's where the money is." And so I began to think about then what job makes the most money, um, and I can make enough money and be wealthy enough, and I can invest in my business ideas or whatever else, with my own money. I didn't have the credit for it. I know I wasn't going to get like a business loan starting out. And I needed something that paid more money than other professions, having not went to college. So it's like I need to make more money than everybody else, and I don't have a degree or anything. And that led to like learning about stocks and investments and whatever else. And so I don't have the most education, but pretty smart. I think I can pass these tests and get these licenses and stuff like that. So I think I can learn about it, and that's what I did at that time.
So you're self-taught.
Yeah.
I get it honest. So my next question is when you took the leap of faith and you went on the venture because you went the non-traditional way of making money.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I know how people look at you when you take the non-traditional way and you have a child. How did that go when with you having me as your child and trying to venture off into the business world, which is not normal for what everybody else is doing?
Yeah, I think for a lot of people, it seemed like I was doing everything, but people get this sense of, hey, you have a child, and what are you doing? And but then I need real money, right? I mean, I'm only doing so much, delivering these pizzas and flipping these burgers. I mean, I'm trying to, produce a real life out of this, and to people it can look like, oh, you need to go to work, you need to go to school, you need to do all this other stuff, and it sounds backwards in our situation. Like, no, you're trying to take me. No, well, you have a kid. Well, yeah, I have a kid. I need to like really come up with something big. I can't do this, forever, and so I gotta find something I'm really going to be doing that's going to make a difference. And this ain't getting it, you jack. I mean, so I mean, minimum wage was 3.35 at that time. You know, it's barely double now. 30 years later, it's
Yeah.
seven something. I mean, that's what's someone gonna do with that? That's not they're talking about people not going back to work now after this. People have had a moment to think. Wow, I got hit with something big. I'm out here making 9, 10, 11 bucks an hour. Hey, maybe I need to think about this before I go back to work. What else do I really need to be doing? And for a lot of people, that was their first wake up call. They really felt like they've been getting by for a long time. But I realized that early on, getting by is not worth anything because you're always one moment away from this, from being completely devastated and wiped out of everything.
Right. And I think that actually you did wasn't vehicle deal planner birthed out of the pandemic during the pandemic.
Yeah, it was an idea I had, but of course I was still, again, like a lot of people, I was working. So it was just kind of sitting there on the back burner. I kind of dipped my toe into it. But the pandemic didn't say, hey, well, that's that. I'm not working right now. Let me look at my feet. It's like, this is an opportunity to really push this out there. And as last summer I spent it making a lot of videos, really kind of starting to develop it and build around it, even just as a free service where people can just go on there and kind of educate themselves if they use it that way. That's fine. And if they do find they need the help, then the service is available. So that's really a big difference of seeing opportunity. There were so many people out here risking their lives and pushing themselves to go back to a job because unless someone is telling them what to do every minute of the day, they have no purpose. And
Right.
I felt really bad for them because I did everything. I worked on the election. I made a bunch of videos, right? And I made a bunch of videos for Vehicle Deal Planner, and I worked on it. I had a full day. I worked harder than I do now that I'm back to work.
Yeah. And I think vehicle deal planner is really beneficial, especially around this time. Where you really don't want to waste your whole day because when you go to a car lot, it's like your whole day is gone
Mm-hmm.
because you're having to deal with the paperwork and you're having to wait and then you're looking for all these different cars and then you don't really know about cars. So, and you don't know about the financial part and then they tell you about your credit. But then
Right.
you have that up your sleeve as well about, the credit part that you can help
Yeah.
with.
Yeah. Day job now, of course, work for Lending Tree, fixing credit. And it's another tie-in because of course I constantly see other people's credit and I'm watching it be built the same way, right? And I see person after person with a 535 and a 575, and they got a loan with Santander, Westlake, credit acceptance, regional accept, and it's the same usual suspects. They're getting the same full of credit card, handful of credit card offers, Finger Hut, Credit One, Capital One, and you can just see it over and over and over again. And you're just going, if the people knew, because each one of us individually is like, hey, I just got a credit card offer. Individually, hey, I just got accepted that, approved for a car. And you're not realizing in that window, you're all getting approved. You're
Right.
all getting the same offer. The credit bureaus mail out those offers automatically when you get to this score. And really what you need to do is hold out for this score and this score to get better and better offers. Throw the first offer, any offers you get in your 500, you might as well just throw away to some degree, But maybe take one or two of them, put Netflix on it and stuff like that. But that again, that experience talking about people's credit all day at the car dealership helped me, get on the job I have. And then the job I have is actually reinforcing the ideas of the business because it's reinforcing that credit knowledge all day long.
Which helps because it's hard when you're blindsided. You go and you're ready to get a car, then they're like, "Oh, your credit's this and oh this," and then you don't know anything about the car dealerships and how they operate or anything. So you don't know the schemes and the stuff that they, try. So
Yeah.
if you had if someone had your service, it will eliminate all the extra hassle and long term. So I'm assuming that um, for your time, because that's time consuming on yours.
Mhm.
That they would need to, but it's good that you also have the video so that they can have their questions ready.
Right. Yeah, I think because a lot of it is we don't even know what we should be asking or what the questions are. So I know I had someone I helped recently, and I think to some degree they were a little bit almost put off that I sent them. I sent three vehicles, and you've been through a little bit of this with me, right? It's just like, have you thought about this? And you're just like, I haven't heard of that. Who makes that? And it's because there's 20, 30 different makes, and then they all have 20, 30 different models. And most of us know, oh, my cousin had one of those, or my mom drives this, or I've seen those and I really like those, or whatever else. But that might not be the best vehicle
For
for everything you're doing, for how much money you have, for how big you need it to be, for this, that, and the other. And so, a lot of times people are like, well, I'm looking for a Mustang. I just said, okay, does that have the most rebate money to help you get into it? Do you have the credit to sustain that? Or do you want a sports car? If you want a sports car, have you looked at the Subaru BRZ? Oh, it's the Subaru BRZ, and then it's like, well, that's what you need to know, right? Have you driven
right,
it? Have you been to the Subaru dealership? Have you thought about Subaru? You don't
right,
know if it's a better car for you. You just know you see, Mustangs.
right. So I think that is very beneficial to have someone that's educated on the cars and educated on the financial part, knows the whole process and can really eliminate, the time that we will have to physically be there and go through all the ringer just to not get the car that we want or to not get the car that is suitable for the needs that we have.
Yeah. And I know that from being at the dealership. They run your credit and then they're just like, yeah, show her the this, that, and other. You think she'll work that? You know what I mean? Like even though you came in for a 3-row vehicle, leaving a small
All
economy
this
car. Yeah, yeah. So, it's night and day. Will she work with that? And the salesperson, your poor salesperson is back trying to push somebody that came in for 3 rows for their family into a small, economy car, and it's night and day for what they left with, and they're not happy, and now they're bound to this thing, and there's no point in telling them, drive it 6 months or whatever else, because what's 6 months do? It does nothing, because now you owe all of this money on this car that's now all of a sudden they're telling you is only worth half of what they charged you for it, right? So you bought the car for 12.6, you took it home for 6 months, you bring it back, they tell you it's worth 6.6, and so you can't get your next car because you have to add $5,000 to the new car, which is already more expensive. So you're not getting out of it because you're already paying $400 a month. $80 a month is going towards the car. So you know you got $1,000 off the 12,000 on the car is worth 6,000.
annoying how it depreciates. It's like as soon as I just pull off the lot, it's down.
Yeah.
Um, my next question, so we can go a little bit beyond the cover. Of course, I have to ask a few questions about how life changed when you had your first child.
Um, I think it changed for me a lot because, of course, as you may know, of course, I grew up in foster homes and things like that. So I was constantly having family members pulled away, right? My father didn't live in Tennessee, so didn't know him. Uh, as soon as we got to Tennessee, me and my sister pretty much went into foster care. So I was in with her and went back to my mother once my brother was born. And then we went back into foster care when I was 10. Uh, you know, a police car came pick me up at 10 years old at Vestal Boys Club, with my siblings there. And this time, my sister got shipped off somewhere else, and me and my brother together for a few years. And so, these things, uh, you start to want to have that control and say, I'll build my own family myself. And starting with you would represent a family that would not be able to be pulled away or taken away or anything else because I would just it's up to me to be there, right? I can't make my father be there. I can't make my mother be there. I can't even control my siblings being there, but I can be there for my own kid, you know. And so that's guaranteed to work.
We
So
all think that.
yeah, we all think that. So what could go wrong, right? So that was the thinking behind that, of course, was that I had no qualms. It didn't bother me. I basically been an adult my whole childhood, either to my siblings and so on and so forth, and other people's kids being in the foster homes. So I was not really concerned about being an adult and thinking about partying or anything else. I'd never started drinking or trying drugs or anything like that. So the responsibility and the idea didn't bother me. It was more of having an opportunity to have family that couldn't go away at that point.
I understand that. Uh, oh, so well. So my next question is, because after I was born, maybe 6 years later, you had a lot of other kids, and
Mm-hmm.
they have special names. So is that around the time that you recognized who you were in God, or how did Messiah and deity and all that get into the play?
Yeah, I think I'd already been there. That was already like, even in my songs and all that kind of stuff, and I realized that too, that I was starting to put more of that stuff in my songs, uh, as opposed to what we should be talking about at that age. I was political. I was talking about God and all this kind of stuff. And I realized, I know I was kind of shifting away from what young people were thinking about or wanting to talk about, because well, I want to go say I don't get high, I don't get drunk, I don't party, you know what I mean? So I'm really just uh, beginning to either outgrow the music or I'm out of touch with what people are wanting to, hear. They're trying to have fun and not think about how the world is doing anything or about their mortal soul or right, So I know that it was just like I could feel even the people around me like he's getting on this I'm God thing, and it's like he's getting out to, and it's like no, I'm not God, but this is important, this is so on and so forth. And so by the time I made up my mind when things didn't work out for you, like I'm not having any more kids no time soon unless that person's gonna stick with me and and see it through. That's not anything about your mother. I have no doubt. When you look back at it, anybody objectively, you have to give them the benefit of the doubt. Nobody has kids most times, unless it's some kind of one night or whatever else. But if you're in a relationship and y'all decide to do it, you have to probably acknowledge both parties were hoping it worked.
Right, right.
You know, it's easy, at the end it would be like they never wanted it to work, but they're saying the same thing about you,
All
right?
right.
So that's so give them benefit of the doubt. So, but there is 6 years because I'm just like, if you have a kid with me, we're getting married and we're gonna see this through thick and thin. And so that was the next attempt.
So, um, because I know there was a little small gap with us, and um, with you being the one that one of my parents that kind of went similar to the route that I had went on. It seemed confusing for everyone when I did. So, um, had I, had this type of conversation or known more about, you know, this,
Mm-hmm.
I've known, how people were gonna look. Because when you start talking about God, people start looking at you weird, and like, why she, as young as she is, talking about God, and how she gonna tell me. So I could just imagine. I don't know how old you were, because I think you were younger than I.
Hmm. Yeah, I was still in high school. You know, I mean, that's basically when I started to change the rap name from like Cooley to the Angel Wrath and all of that kind of stuff, and it was, I think people were feeling like, okay, here we go. And what's odd about it is that it seems that everybody believes in God, but not for real, right? It's like we're all, like we're all wink, wink at each other, like, no, I go to church and the word says this and the other. But if you start being just like, God told me, right? Well, like, you talk to God, or, you know what I mean? Like,
Like, yeah,
I
you
thought
don't.
I, thought I was in a group of people who believe in God, but they don't, not in no practical way. Like he hit me up on my cell phone kind of way. God is not that kind of real. God is kind of like, oh, I better, or I'm not gonna get my treat real, And
Right.
it's like, and so that's a little disconcerting because you feel like, hey, everybody's working on this connection supposedly, and then you mentioned like this visceral, real connection, and people like, okay, weirdo, we're not really that far, and yeah, I'm not naming my kids that, and I'm not going to change my name, and I'm not going to embarrass myself. But you take a day of the week and go down to a building and sing songs to somebody you can't see. That might as well be embarrassing. I mean, I don't know how that's more embarrassing than me changing my name. So, but I guess.
You touched on the right spot, because that's exactly what happened, even with me, because of course I assumed, I guess, that everybody that said that they were of God and they knew God, that they would understand what I was saying when I would say the same thing. Hey, God told me this or whatever, and they look at me like, she talking about. But had I known, but that they wouldn't really, But that's a journey that only God can put you on. But I do want to, before we end, elaborate on um, how you found out about your calling. Um, like
I think
how,
I think it's a slow moving train that you kind of get a tap on the shoulder and you kind of going, because I was not a particularly religious person. I wasn't knocking down the church. I wasn't uh, a part. You know what I mean? It wasn't like I was like future deacons of America or something like that. You know what I mean? I barely wanted to reluctantly go sometimes when I had to go. That was basically it. For me, I was not an active member, so I was far from a Bible thumper or quoting scripture if somebody said something, or I was uh, couldn't have been further from that, and really probably ain't really been to church consistently now. For I don't know 30, 40 years. You know, I probably really haven't had to go consistently since really ninth or 10th grade. Even at this point. So, but the Bible is made up of people like that. The people that are at the temple or the synagogue are already there, but God keeps pulling in these people. You know, Jesus not being at the church, Saul to Paul not being at the church. Noah, Moses, whoever it is, and pulling them over and saying, "Yeah, I need you mainly from the outside to deliver the message where you are." Right? Not just preaching to the choir, but like you said, basically out there communicating in what you do. And I think that can make a difference because you don't feel necessarily just converted in the church, but more of a convicted by God type thing. Because you were not squeezing it out, sitting in the front, shaking, on the front pew every week, begging for the calling. You were just like minding your own business, you know. And so if he gets you on the horn, he goes, it felt more like, well, why are you asking me? I was like, because you'll do it. That's what the difference felt like. Like, you can ask all these church people, oh, yeah, but they're too busy being church people. I need some God people.
Mm.
And so I need somebody that will do it. I probably can't ask half the people at the church to change their kid's name, their name, put it in a song, do anything that will embarrass them doing it on Monday. They're knocking down this building Sunday, right? Where it's acceptable and agreed upon and within the limits of these hours and don't spill on too late because I got to eat later and the game's going to be on. But I need people that are embarrass themselves Tuesday night bringing it up.
And that's true. And that's why God said that he would tell them that he never knew them. These judgmental Christian folks that say that they go to church and say that, oh, I know God and all this stuff, but they don't understand. Like Jesus was telling the people, he was like, why don't you understand what I'm saying? When I'm speaking truth, but you don't comprehend basically what I'm saying. And but you say that we serve the same Father. We don't
Right.
serve the same Father because your serving is the action. You can say I serve God, but you're not doing. God said, "Be doers of my word, not just hearers only."
Yeah.
So you're hearing my word, but you're not doing it. So you're serving the opposite. You're doing the opposite of what I've told you to do. So you're not serving me. Depart from me, worker of iniquity.
Yeah. And it makes a difference because even if you notice in, I don't think, necessarily changing your name or whatever else is necessary, like Saul to Paul or like many of the faiths, like Islam. You notice a lot of people when they convert to Islam, and especially in this country, end up with a name change. But I think it may represent necessarily an act if that's the one you're asked to do. Right. Not everybody in the Bible is asked to do that. Right. But uh, just like a lot of people for Islam or Nation of Islam in this country say, okay, yes, let me throw off the shackles of everything about the society and the names that I was given and what I was thought to be as a person. And in my submission, take on my name, for Allah or Jehovah or God or whatever your situation is going to be. And so it can be more of a deliberate act of faith if that's what you're asked to do, because you're asked to do whatever you're asked to do. And that's what, you can't do anything routinely. You can't do what the other person did because you might be asked to do something totally different.
Hmm. Interesting that you said that because this morning I've been up since 4 in the morning. And God basically, that's what we were talking about. Exactly that. And I can tell you about the name later of what he told me it was going to be. And I had to look up this certain type of, I have to tell you like, but God, like that is so, and that's exactly how God works. Like, and he gives you confirmation, like this is real because you didn't even know, that God was telling me this morning. I have it written down and everything. I'm gonna show you
Right.
this morning about my name being changed. And that's another reason why I was asking you some of the questions about the name change and all of that, because I wanted to get a little insight on, like, is this real? Like,
Yeah.
supposed to change my name. So that's why I was wanting to get insight. Like, okay, my dad changed his name. He ended up, changing. I'm not changing, but naming my brothers and stuff. So I wanted to know a little bit more of how that went because of this morning, and then
Yeah.
for you to just tap into that, it was just um, amazing. So,
No, it's you just have to follow the breadcrumbs wherever they're taking you. And another thing is I actually uh, put restrictions on my calling. Uh, I said there would be no, it was like no gain for me and not to use it for Like I would not start a church, and I would not basically I would not do anything where it basically benefited me,
Right.
right? Where it can't be about me. If it becomes about me, I'm going to be distrustful of it. You know,
Right.
if I'm using it for fame, if I'm using it for riches, I'm going to become very distrustful for it. So I put my own restrictions on there of what I would be willing to do, uh, which would seem odd, right? Hey, you got a calling or whatever else, but you just go, okay, well, if I'm gonna do it, this, and this, God. So don't ask me, and so on and so forth. But
Mm.
it was really of trying to keep the flesh side gated out of the calling, because you see so many people slip into, they got a calling, God's asking them to say something, and then all of a sudden, doesn't matter if they add a little bit of what they want to say, everything they begin to say starts to come from God. And I had a very deliberate distinction between, yeah, this is I'm saying it, and I'm flawed, and I have my own emotions or whatever else, and this is specifically God talking, right? This is me shutting up and shutting myself out of it, and God talking. And this over here is me, right? It's
Right.
not God cussing you out, right? Because
Right.
for my own flaws and inequities and my issues and whatever else. But if I tell you this, you can take that to the bank that is me turning myself off and just being a vessel.
Right. I make that distinction all the time. I'm like, God, or this is Shanidra. This ain't got
Right,
nothing to do. Don't even add God into this because this is me.
right,
But even like I told you with the kids, if God lets me in, give me insight of what they're doing, and I tell them, and they're looking at me like I'm some, you know, powerful thing, I let them know immediately. Like, obviously, I wasn't here or I didn't see that. So, in order for me to know what you were doing, God saw what you were doing, and He's letting you know through me, I saw you. I'm letting you
right.
that He's letting you know that obviously your mother wasn't there to see you. So, I'm talking through her because she wasn't there. So, I'm letting you know that I saw you. And
And
it's,
I think that's such an important distinction because people are so worried about your ego that they keep focusing on why am I listening to her, or what does he know, or why does he think, or what. And it's just like, I'm not in it. I don't personally care. Do it. Do what you want. It's none of my business, right? Take a long walk off a short pier, for for how much I'm going to run and throw myself into traffic about you. I'm being asked to. I'm being asked to pass something on. I'm passing it on. Take it or leave it. Really? I mean, okay. I don't believe it. Now I'm not going. Okay. Have a nice day. I did my part. I did what I was told to do. I stopped my day. I stopped what I'm supposed to be doing for myself to do what I'm supposed to do. It's done. You do what you're supposed to do with it, because it's a cop out to me that you're using suspicion as a
mhm,
reason to ignore it. Right? If I'm at a bus stop and somebody's homeless sitting there and they say, hey, God just want me to tell you that this, that, and other, whatever else, I got to weigh it out.
yeah,
I'm not just like, oh man, if I try and get some money or whatever else. That's not my job. My job is to take it legitimately. If something got put on that man's heart, he could have said nothing. He could have asked me for money. He could have did anything else. And he said, hey, this is on my heart to put this out there. Well, they're always gonna try to bring that up to try to pull on your heart. That's you. That's your issues. That's your issues. You didn't even hear the message. How does the message hurt you?
and that's so because it's so the nicest way. Because, like you said, it's not like we just want to go up here and tell the whole, like, half the time we are in our Jonah moments of like, God, I don't want to, tell these people, how they are.
Right.
Don't want to tell them. But to avoid being in the situation that Jonah ended up trying to run from what we were told to do,
Right.
we decide, okay, let me go ahead because if I don't, I'm going to make it worse on my behalf.
Right.
I don't want to tell you. I don't really, like you said, we don't really care, not like that, but it's like, it's
Right.
not pressing for me to tell you.
No, I got a full plate, right? I got things to do besides, take it off of all, like what I just mean as personal human beings, got 101 things already to do. And just be like, here it is, write this song. I'm tired. I just got work. I'm not, but I have to write that song because those are his words. He's writing the song, right? And I can't
Yeah.
come back to it and write it myself because it'll be a song I wrote. Even if it's about the same thing, if it's a song I wrote, then it becomes a song I wrote. If it's a song he told me to write, I have to get up 2 a.m., go sit on the couch, start typing, right? And I got to get up in the morning, and that kind of stuff. So people just think you're doing it for self-aggrandizement, but you're just like, no, it's a legitimate burden. If he says, hey, I got an idea for you at 3 a.m., right? You got to sit up in the bed, right? You're like, these kids are going to be getting up in a few hours. And now I'm stuck up for 2 hours writing and thinking about something they didn't put in my brain, right?
I've been up since 4, and I have like 5 pages,
Right.
and I'm still going. But he has given me the strength to, do
Yeah.
this interview energetically. Hopefully, I'll continue this energy since everybody is up. But that's exactly how it happens. Like, you can't just be like, well, I'm just gonna sleep. I don't feel like getting up right now. Because if you don't, it will be your words, like you said. It's
Mm-hmm.
not gonna be his words. You have to write down his words and it's deeper than what we think anyway. Because I would have never thought of half the stuff.
Right. You're not
Not
gonna
me.
like, I got the gist, God. I'll do it in the morning. No, you can't have the gist because a word off, a sentence off, a part of it off makes it your idea.
So, and I think that's what has led a lot of people astray from the churches because too many people would judge instead of help. So,
Mm-hmm.
um, and God is sick of it. Like he said, he's going to tell them he never knew them. And so I'm gonna get off of that part because it's gonna go too deep. But I did want to go beyond the cover, and since you touched on that, I have to be led accordingly. So, do you have any final thing you would like to say about your business and how they can actually get in contact with you if they are interested in vehicle dealer?
Yeah, it's there on my page. Um, link to my personal page, but you can just really look up Vehicle Deal Planner on Facebook. There's a separate page for it. You can it will allow you to, with the automated messages and stuff like that, and so on and so forth. So there's a lot there and responses. It's a big help. It is a fee-based service, but of course, any type of thing you're doing like that, like I'm telling people all day on credit repair, ideally it's an investment. You know, and so often people are like, I don't want to pay for this. I'm trying to save money or whatever else. Well, paying this fee up front, if it saves you from going around town all month or dinging your credit from 100 places or getting locked in and paying extra thousands and thousands of dollars down the road, it's a positive investment. You have some money and you plan on putting it down and everything else. Use a portion of that to make sure you are going in completely prepared. You're
Right.
actually going to the dealership almost with your deal. That's why it's vehicle deal planning. You're basically going in with your deal prepared and saying, write this up, right? Do this deal. If you won't do this deal, I have a few other places that I will go and ask to do the thing because you have that confidence because I've told you this deal will work or this is the deal that's most advantageous for you. You don't get there and feel like this is what I want, this is what I want. Because I watch people come in, arms folded, yeah, to the dealership. No, I'm not. And if it's going over this, no, and I'm not paying over 400, leave with a $700 car payment because you feel disarmed. This is all you can do, and they show you credit, and this is how bad it is. This that. And so you don't know what else you could have done or if you could have did better somewhere else. You're tired of walking around. You've already been there. That's another tactic of keeping you there that you're just wearing down. The more times they keep going in the back for 20, 30 minutes at a time, the less likely it is you're going to be like, let's go somewhere else and do this for another 4 hours. You're just like, well, we're almost done here. Fine. Yeah, I came here for an Escalade and I'm going to leave in a eco sport, but it is what it is. At least I got something.
Yeah, but like you said, because I had to go out with, due to our distance, that was the only
Mm.
reason. Because had I, you know, but I wouldn't have been in that situation if I listened to my father. But um, with you having the skills, like you said, of cars that we may not even think of. Like we're saying exactly what type of car that we're
Mm.
wanting, but we're so fixated on the car that we think, fits what we're wanting,
Right,
that we look at nothing else 'cause we don't know about those.
right. No, I mean, I watch hundreds of car reviews and videos, you know, every year, and at this point, it's difficult for me, but I still am able to run into vehicles I didn't know about, hadn't heard of, and so on and so forth. And it's like, how is that even possible? I've worked for half of the places. I know most of the cars from seeing it, but there's constantly um, something else, that's on the market, that's on its way, that's making it, that's going to be uh, making a difference, And so yesterday I found a new Alfa Romeo CUV, that's going to be coming out or whatever else. It's not that it hadn't been mentioned, but it's all of a sudden someone's talking about something that you didn't realize was coming or had been in the background or that you missed. And so I'm constantly scouring that I am as up to date as possible. But I know that most of people think about cars next time they're going to buy a car. And they go to the dealership and look around and they're finding out what's in them, and they're sitting in them. And that's the first time they've had to think about it. I've been thinking about it for years straight, watching it, reviewing them, comparing them, and whatever else. And still, it's an ongoing process to try to stay on top of it. I'll give you a clear example. January, went out, bought a brand new 2020 Pathfinder. I'm savvy. I got a 2020 because I figured those are being pushed out because the 21s are there, right? So I find the right 2020, the right price, I'll be able to get it, and I have that done. Got it home, February, they released a new body and put the 22s on the lot. All of a sudden, the 2020 that I went and got the bargain on and squeeze out is the old body. Just like that. And that's the type of dings, that you
Right.
don't want to run. So now the Pathfinders look totally different than the brand new Pathfinder that I have now with 3,000 miles.
Wow. Wow.
So that's the kind of thing you need to know. Hey, is there another one getting ready to come out like in 2 weeks after I get this? So, and my last job was at Nissan.
Wow. And you got a pass.
And I get by, so I had to buy a new Nissan. So that's, that matters. You definitely want to go in as armed as you can. Uh, Maybe I might have got a better deal on it, knowing, hey, they got to make some room for these 22s. That new body gonna be here next week, you
Right.
know. So, but that's my time.
All right. Well, I thank you for your time and for you enlightening us on your journey and your businesses and your last business, which is Vehicle Deal Planner. Everyone go check it out on his Facebook. You can click on his website and watch his videos to see if you would like to use his services, which I feel that it will be, I know that it will be beneficial for you and save you a lot of time. So thanks again, guys.